Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This video is part 2 of the Moulds and Shapes marathon collaboration. If you were with me last week, there was 8 of us, 8 artists, and we all took part in this incredible brand new mould launch with Moulds and Shapes. Everyone doing completely different things with the Druzy edge moulds. Now, I have not done any resin in my craft room now for about 4 days. That's why George is in here. Otherwise, he's not usually allowed up here, and I couldn't come and film this intro without him. He wouldn't let me. So yes, this is part 2 of the Moulds and Shapes marathon collaboration. Like last week, there is going to be a playlist down in my description box with all of the artists taking part in this collaboration, the same 8 that were taking part last week. So I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a completely different mould, different aesthetic, all of it. I cannot wait to see what everyone's done. And okay, he's just yawning through this. Sorry about that. George, say bye. Say, please hit the thumbs up. Go on, say it. Say it. Okay. Enjoy. So for this week's part of the collaboration, I am going to be using the large round Druzy edge mould. Oh my gosh, guys, trying to say that in one sentence. This is the large round tray and it is measuring approximately 24 centimeters across. You would have already seen this being used. I think it was Louise Singleton used this last week and she made that stunning vanity mirror stroke makeup stand. Pretty genius. So yeah, this is the first time I'm using it and it is a beauty. Again, these are all Druzy edged molds. For this one, I'm going a little bit down a different route, something I don't usually do, and that is to be spring flowers. We're going to go summer actually. Summer flowers. I very rarely use pressed flowers in my pieces, but yeah, this week it's all about the summer vibes because the weather's been so amazing. First up, the edge is going to be jesmonite AC100. Now, this is an eco-pouring medium. There are plenty other mediums out there. So many of you love your eco-pouring mediums. I'm using jesmonite AC100. I wanted to give it a different edge. I wanted to see what it would look like. I am just mixing it in a small cup here, but the day I was filming this was so warm. Like, I say hot because I'm a Brit. It was so hot. It was so hot in my craft room. It felt very, very thick to me. Now, sometimes jesmonite AC100 it can be quite temperature. It can be temperamental depending on temperature. When it's too hot, it can feel really, really thick. Now, my worry here was that it's not going to pour very well into all of the beautiful detail of that Druzy edge. Now, I've added in some vivid pink from Hemway Design Co. And on top of that, I've added in some white pigment from jesmonite themselves. So the branded white pigment, just to lighten it up. I didn't want that bright in your face gorgeous pink. I wanted a much paler summer calmer pink around the Druzy edge. Now, this is something I don't usually do. I would never advocate for playing around with your mixture, especially with jesmonite AC100. They do say that if you alter the actual ratios in any way, it can prohibit the curing or it can make it weaker. So I decided, you know, it's a little bit of a risk, but I added a little bit more of the jesmonite AC100 liquid just to make it more pourable. Again, it was feeling really thick and gloopy to me. So again, it was just a choice I made. I didn't feel like this was going to be too detrimental to the final result because the rest of this tray is going to be epoxy resin, and that is the strongest glue in itself. So I wasn't too worried, basically, is what I'm saying. I wasn't too worried. I was pouring it from quite high up because I want it to get into all of those nooks and crannies, but you can do it another way. You can just pour a very, very small amount, get your hand, get your finger, and just go in there and give it a really good rub and get it in all of those little detailed areas. I just poured it from high up and then I tapped. I literally tapped it for the longest time, as long as I could really, before I saw it kind of like setting. I was just stretching the edges as well, lifting it up off the table, bashing it back down again, just to get all of that jesmonite into all of the areas. And when you're just using one colour like this, you've got the luxury of being able to, you know, bash the life out of it basically. Sometimes when you're doing marbling or if you're using inlays, you just can't bash it as much. At this point I thought, you know, I actually want my jesmonite AC100 to fully coat the edge of the Druzy. I don't want now to fill this up with resin and see resin on this Druzy edge. I want it to be 100% jesmonite AC100. Now the only way to do that at this point is to drag it up the sides, and I thought it's getting to the point where it's so thick, my logical brain was like, surely it's gonna stick, right? If I use my wooden lollipop stick and just drag it up, and it worked a dream, I tell you, an absolute dream. I just went over and over and over a few times because, again, A, it wasn't dripping back down, B, it was fully sticking wherever I put it, but C, I wanted to make sure that all of those beautiful intricate details from the Druzy edge were being filled. So I just went over and over and over. It was getting quite thick at this point, which honestly just made it easier. And once that was done, then I wiped it, cleaned up the edges with a wet wipe, and this is 30 minutes later. You may be wondering, but Claire, aren't you meant to demold jesmonite AC100 after 30 minutes in case it sweats in the mould? Yes. Yes, ideally you are demolding jesmonite at this point. I could demold it at this point and make a gorgeous photo frame, or do what Louise did and make like a mirror, some kind of frame. That would be incredibly cool in so many different colours, to have a whole set of funky, bright coloured photo frames. But I have done this before using jesmonite AC100 and epoxy resin, and whilst it might sweat in the mould, the impact is insignificant when you're leaving it in the mould for up to 2 days. It doesn't, for me, it hasn't really made a real impact. So here I am just pouring on a clear layer of epoxy resin, and I'm giving it a good going over with the heat gun. And now I'm going to use all of the colours. I want this to be like the most beautiful floral summer garden with all of the colours, an absolute rainbow of colours. And yeah, I got my pressed flowers from Shein. I am speeding this section up because it was super long and no one needs to sit through that in real time. The only one thing I did here is that I tried to make sure that there wasn't a whole cluster of one colour next to each other. It was a bit like the mini egg tray from last week. I wanted to make sure that, you know, there is a separation in the colour, and I'm not just putting 5 yellow flowers next to each other. That's the one thing I did do here, but other than that, I'm just putting them in. I'm putting them mostly in the centre. I want the floral arrangement to be mostly central because I do want a backing colour here. I want to see an outside edge before the Druzy. So again, no real rules here. I wanted to start off by putting smaller flowers in first and then backing them in the larger flowers, but when it came down to it, I felt like they were all pretty much the same size, apart from a handful that was significantly bigger. But yeah, in the end I thought, you know what, just get them in there. And I couldn't let this go without adding in some of my absolute favourites, which were the ferns. These again came out of the yellow flower kit from Shein, but I do have an entire pack of pressed ferns as well from Shein. But yeah, I just figured it would make it look like more of, I guess, like a hanging basket style, with the sprays coming out of the side and just, yeah, tying it all in together. Again, using all of the colours. So if you do want to do something like this, of course, you could make it all one colour, like yellow. If you've got someone who absolutely loves the colour yellow, you could just go 100% yellow edge, yellow flowers, and all of that. Even purple edge, purple flowers, it would all work. But for me, most outside my comfort zone, I felt like being super bright and colourful and, yeah, doing all of the things. Now, I cannot lie, this is my second attempt at this video. The first attempt came out completely different. It was a completely different route, different aesthetic, and it was dark. It was screaming Halloween. So I've put it to one side and I'm going to revisit that in September and bring that to you at Halloween. I decided to change it up and go bright and cheery. Now, this is where I left it, but it was very clear to me. If you guys don't know, I live in it's not a very old house, but a 1950s house. Again, wanted surfaces to be level, but they are not. So I did notice everything in the mould was starting to travel to one side of the mould just because my surfaces are uneven. So I ended up putting it on this wooden tray and I propped the wooden tray up until it was fully level. Now, next up, it was time to back the piece. Now, this is where my patrons were so helpful. I put it to my patrons, what colour would you back this in? Would you go with a purple, make it lighter, you know, green, yellow? I gave them all the options. Like, what colour would you do? Now, this time around, there was no clear winner. There was no clear majority. It was kind of torn 50-50 between purple and green. I just went for green. The reason I went for green is that I figured it would be the most contrasting to the pink edge. I figured if I went for purple, pink and purple are so similar that, yeah, for me, it had to be green. Now, I am using the Estoyo Green Bright Mica. I don't want bright green mica as my background. So, of course, I'm going to do what I did in recent videos. Really, what this has done is just given me a base, and now I'm going to get rid of the mica by adding white liquid pigment. Not only are we getting rid of that mica, we're not going to see any of that mica anymore ever. It's going to give me this absolutely, guys, wait till you see this colour. If this is not the most beautiful green ever, like to match the pink edge, it is sheer perfection. And this is all thanks to the white liquid pigment. Now, the white liquid pigment I used there on screen, you saw, that was from Vista Resin. Love it. Love. But now we've got this beautiful, delicate, summery, calming, it's an everything green. And it's absolutely spot on matches with that pink edge. And again, it's going to be lovely and contrasting against the darker green on the ferns. That was the other thing I had to consider. It can't be too close to the fern colour because we might not see the fern. Oh my gosh, this green and pink, it's giving cottage garden vibes. It is, yeah. That's it. Can you tell I loved it? Can you tell I loved it? It was at this point I realised I did not mix up enough resin to top this off. Honestly, sometimes it's just deceiving. Sometimes I make exactly what I need and I'm like, well done me. But I made up another tiny little batch to fill up the mould. I tried to colour match it. I didn't do it very well. It's slightly lighter, but that's okay. It does not take away from the finished piece. This is 24 hours later, guys. This is giving a cross between an iced birthday cake and like vintage curtains with knitted pom-poms. That's the only way I could describe it. Like a knitted edge. Does anyone else see this big, juicy, fat pom-pom knitted edge? Or like puffy paint? Is anyone else or just me? The edge is stunning. Now, honestly, the fact that the jesmonite AC100 has been in this mould for 2 whole days has not diminished it in any way. If anything, it almost looks shinier because it's been in the mould for 2 days. Now, do bear in mind when you're using any eco-pouring medium, or, well, jesmonite specifically, actually. Epoxy resin sticks to jesmonite. Jesmonite does not stick to cured epoxy resin. You might think it's stuck for a couple days or a month, but it will eventually pop off. They do not stick. Whereas epoxy resin on top of jesmonite, no problem at all. And that's the way round I did it. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's so summery. I can barely contain myself. Honestly, when the sun is shining, it's like absolutely nothing could go wrong in the world. You know, it's just that feeling of pure summery energy. That's the word. Summery energy, and this screams summer energy. It also screams iced cake and knitted pom-poms. Let me know if you kind of get the vision I'm going with here. That from a distance, honestly, it really does. It looks like a knitted edge. It's bizarre, but the Druzy edge is stunning up close. It's beautiful. Even with your eco pouring medium, you can definitely see a few little micro holes there. Definitely a few little micro holes. So that is where you'd really want to get in there with your gloved hand and smudge it and squish it and push it into the beautiful detail of that Druzy edge. But it has not taken away from the end result. I absolutely love it. To me as well, it's giving vintage bag vibes. Like, I remember my grandma had a beautiful mirror. I have it now, and it's got a gorgeous, I guess, photograph or image of flowers on the back, a bouquet of flowers. It's all of the things. It's all of the things. And that green background. Patrons, thank you so much for your continued support. Honestly, yeah, I love it. Thank you so much if you've all stayed to the end. I appreciate you all so much. Hope you feel inspired. And remember, this is part of that collaboration with Moulds and Shapes. Everyone involved has videos going out at different times, 3 days in a row. And there's 8 of us, so there's a lot to get your teeth into. I honestly cannot wait to see what everyone has made this week, because last week was a wow. And I will see you all in the next video. Remember, the link will be in my description box. Go share the love with absolutely everybody else taking part in this Moulds and Shapes collaboration. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.